At the age of 18 I developed a lingering illness while saving Silas. People in our circle all said that I was the apple of his eye. Until the canary that Silas kept came to me making a scene. The young and beautiful girl looked at me with pity in her eyes and showed me a video. In the video Silas's brother asked, "Are you really going to marry that sickly girl? What about the canary you keep outside?" Upon hearing this, Silas didn't even lift his eyelids. His tone was flat. "She's like a glass doll, you can't even touch her. Which normal man can stand that I'm marrying her just to repay the kindness from my childhood?" So it was just for repaying a favor, and I neither cried nor made a scene. I boarded a flight to the United States before the wedding. Later I heard that on the day of the wedding the young master of the Silas family, who couldn't find the bride, went completely crazy. The day the canary that Silas kept outside came to me making a scene was our 6th anniversary of being in love. The young and beautiful girl was wearing a bright red dress, high heels, and was as radiant as a red rose. Even her body exuded the strong fragrance of roses. She was the complete opposite type of me. There was full of pity in her eyes as she looked at me. "Silas doesn't love you at all. Since you can't even satisfy his physical needs, are you still going to shamelessly stick by his side?" I didn't say anything, but my hands hanging by my sides couldn't stop trembling. This girl named Joselyn had just shown me a video. In the video, Silas's childhood friend asked, "Are you really going to marry that sickly girl? Didn't you just say it was just for fun at first? Are you really in love? What about the canary you keep outside?" Silas was leaning lousily against the expensive leather sofa. Upon hearing this, he didn't even lift his eyelids. His expression was lazy. "She's like a glass doll. You can't even touch her. Which normal man can stand that? What's more, even if she were a celestial beauty, after all these years, one should have gotten tired of her, right?" My heart seemed to be clenched in someone's hand, and it hurt so much that it felt like it would burst with just a little more force. I couldn't believe that the person in the video was Silas. He pied me for my weak body and had always treated me extremely gently. Even when he was passionate, he was patient and restrained. Even when Silas rarely lost control, he would just gently grip my waist and tell me, "My dear Cynthia, you will be mine for the rest of your life." Silas wouldn't treat me like this. But the video kept playing. The face that I was most familiar with moved its lips and slowly uttered the most heartless words. "I'm marrying her just to repay the kindness from my childhood." The words "repay the kindness" fell lightly, but they hit my heart heavily. As someone with an involuntary crying disorder, tears were already welling up in my eyes at this moment. I bit my lips tightly, not wanting to show my embarrassed side in front of Joselyn. "It's just a video. I don't believe it." The Silas in this video was completely different from the one in the morning. Clearly, he had gently kissed my forehead before going to the company. "Cynthia, wait for me to get off work. Videos can be faked. I've known Silas for 10 years and no one knows him better than I do. Silas isn't that kind of person." Joselyn seemed to have expected my reaction. She let out a soft laugh. "You're really as stubborn as I imagined." She pulled down the collar of her dress a bit, revealing the mottled and ambiguous hickeys on her slender neck. When my gaze landed on those hickeys, I felt as if I had been burned. Silas liked to leave these green and purple marks on my neck the most, and they were almost identical to those on Joselyn's neck. Joselyn's eyes showed provocation. "These were all left on me by Silas bit by bit. Has he been telling you that he has to work overtime at the company recently? But do you know Silas didn't go to work overtime at all? Instead, he came to me. Silas is a man with normal needs. No wonder he thinks you're so unromantic in bed." After these words fell, all the words I had in my mind to defend Silas suddenly disappeared. Joselyn was right. Silas had strong sexual needs, but my body was weak and I couldn't satisfy him. Every time after, he would always relieve himself. I once leaned on his lap and asked softly, "Don't you feel uncomfortable holding it in?" Silas's fingers ran across my cheek and he smiled softly. "As long as Cynthia is here, what's a little discomfort?" I foolishly believed him. I thought that Silas's love for me had transcended sex. But I never expected that he had kept a canary outside to satisfy the physical needs that I couldn't meet. Joselyn raised the ring on her finger and showed a provocative smile. "Does this ring look familiar to you, Cynthia?" My gaze suddenly froze when it touched the diamond ring. This was the wedding ring that Silas and I had. Silas said some time ago that he was going to take it to be cleaned and maintained in preparation for the wedding, so I took it off. Joselyn seemed very satisfied with my change of expression. Her voice was sweet and she couldn't hide the tone of showing off. "Don't you know, I just told Silas that I wanted to try on this ring and he took it from you." My heart suddenly ached dully. It turned out that Silas took Jocelyn's casual words so seriously. He could even give her a wedding ring. Joselyn noticed my embarrassed expression and she smiled even more brightly. "You're so pitiful." She took off the ring and threw it on the ground like trash. With obvious malice in her eyes. "I'm tired of wearing it anyway. Now I'm giving it back to you." I didn't pick it up. I just looked at her quietly. You're much younger than me, but you may not understand a truth yet. A cat that steals fish will never stop at just one fish. Joselyn is too young. She doesn't understand that once a man cheats, there will always be a next time. Just like me, I will never be an exception for Silas. I chased after Silas for 4 years, but he only regarded me as the girl next door. Silas has no shortage of women around him. He is always like the sexy type and of course looked down on a young girl like me. At the age of 18, Silas and I were kidnapped at the same time. The kidnappers demanded a ransom of $50 million from the Silas family. The Silas family called the police but were discovered by the kidnappers. A group of vicious outlaws threw me and Silas into a water dungeon. The water dungeon was damp and dark and there were even poisonous insects in the turbid water. Silas was extremely weak and on the verge of death. It was me who cut open my wrist and fed my blood into his mouth bit by bit. And we finally managed to hold on until the rescuers arrived. After we got out, Silas changed his forward dissolute appearance. He found out that all of this was the doing of his half-brother. The kidnappers who fell into his hands had a very tragic end. His half-brother was placed under house arrest in Ayla in the suburbs and eventually died in depression. Everyone said that the young master of the Silas family was ruthless and would avenge even the smallest grievance. The women around Silas were also completely cut off. I became the only woman by his side. Losing blood in the water dungeon and damaged my foundation and I developed a lingering illness. I would gasp for breath after walking just a few steps and we couldn't be too passionate in bed. Silas pitied me and was gentle and restrained when he was passionate. During our intimate moments, I once asked Silas, didn't you like the sexy type the most before? Won't you feel a sense of drop now that you're with me? Silas buried his face in my chest and chuckled softly. My dear Cynthia, with you by my side, why would I need other women? He would always say this and then his hand would hold that soft part and my face would instantly turn red and I would scold softly, stop being a rascal. Silas came back especially late today. I sat on the sofa all night with an open photo album beside me. It contained all the photos of us since we met. I flipped through it from the first page to the last page. Over the past 10 years, Silas actually hasn't changed at all. I thought I would be the exception that made him turn over a new leaf, but I wasn't. No one can be an exception for Silas. Joselyn now is just like me back then. Becoming Silas's exception for a short time. Silas bent down and hugged me. It's so late. Why haven't you gone to bed yet? I didn't say anything. He lowered his head to kiss me but I turned my head to avoid it. Silas let out a soft laugh and wasn't angry. What's wrong? Who made you unhappy? Or is it that Cynthia is angry that I'm back late? I looked at him quietly and didn't speak. Don't look at me like that. I can't stand it. Silas's eyes darkened and he put his arm around my waist and pulled me into his arms. The company has been busy recently. I'll come home early to accompany you next time, okay? It was the same excuse again. We were very close and I smelled the rose fragrance on him, which was the same as the rose perfume on Joselyn. My heart ticked for no reason. Silas was lying again. It seemed that he noticed my absent-mindedness. Silas lifted my clothes with his hand and caressed my exposed skin. In the past, I would have pleaded for mercy with weak legs, but this time I was unusually calm. Silas, I don't want to marry you anymore. His movement froze and his hand moved away from my waist. Clearly having Joel my side, he lost interest. The wedding is in a few days. Don't make a fuss, okay, Cynthia? The company has a lot of things to deal with recently. I don't have the energy to coax you. Dense pain welled up in my chest. Was Silas really busy with the company's affairs or was he busy coaxing Joselyn? My heart hurt so much. It hurt even more than when I cut my wrist and bled in the dungeon. Tears were already welling up in my eyes and I suppressed my sobbing voice and asked Silas, do you still love me? Do you really want to marry me? This series of questions made Silas a bit unhappy. He rubbed his forehead impatiently. Cynthia, when did you become so melodic? How else do I have to prove my love to you? Do I have to take out my heart and show it to you? Be good and don't make me annoyed, okay? Suddenly Silas's phone rang. He answered it irritably. What's the matter? I didn't see the name of the caller clearly, but I heard a girl's voice with a sobbing tone on the other end of the phone. It was Joselyn. Silas frowned, his brows full of impatience, but he still suppressed his fierce temper and coaxed patiently. Stay there and don't move. I'll come right away. Silas stood up and left in a hurry. There's an urgent matter at the company. I'll come back to accompany you later. The moment the door closed, my heart went completely cold. After Silas went out that night, he never came back. I waited alone until dawn. My fingers unconsciously swiped on the screen and I scrolled to Joselyn's WeChat moments. The man in the photo was sleeping quietly with an unmistakable look of exhaustion. Joselyn showed half of her face with a bright smile and there were still ambiguous hickeys on her neck. Her caption was, "I met a rascal in the bar last night. Thanks to my brother for saving me, so I rewarded him with a little sweetness." I rubbed my red eyes and suddenly felt that all this was incredibly dull. My wedding with Silas was set for the 5th day of next month. He once said he would give me the grandest wedding in the world, but with only a week left until the wedding, Silas still hadn't taken me to choose a wedding dress. He was too busy accompanying Joselyn and even forgot about this important matter. I belatedly realized that promises really only count when two people are in love. When he came back the next day, he only said to me, "I'm going abroad for business. It will probably take about 4 days. I'll accompany you to choose a wedding dress when I'm back." Silas was lying to me again. There was a new post on Joselyn's WeChat moments. She was wearing a pink ski suit, a helmet and a mask with only a pair of round almond-shaped eyes showing. The caption read, "Brother took me skiing and watching the aurora in Iceland." This is the last bit of madness before the wedding. The location was Iceland. I covered my chest and the pain almost made me shed tears. During those most difficult days in the dungeon, Silas coaxed me with a weak breath. "If we manage to get out alive, I'll take you to Iceland to see the aurora, okay?" But in the end, he still broke his promise. Just then, I let out a little sigh. My best friend Yvonne called me on a video call. "Cynthia, have you thought it through? Are you going to stay in the country and get married or come to San Francisco to recuperate?" Yvonne had never been very optimistic about my relationship with Silas. She didn't believe that a playboy like Silas would truly turn over a new leaf and settle down to marry me and live a normal life. Now she was settled in San Francisco, the United States, and had found a medical institution there that was very suitable for me to recuperate. I hadn't made up my mind before, but now I smiled and agreed, "Sure, I'll go to San Francisco." Yvonne on the end of the video call looked delighted. "That's great, Cynthia. You've finally seen the light." After she calmed down, her voice became serious. "Cynthia, are you really determined to give up on Silas?" I nodded, my tone unusually calm. "Yes, I've given up." Yvonne could tell I was feeling down and didn't ask any more questions. She just said we could talk in detail when we met. I went home and burned all the photos of Silas and me. I got rid of the gifts he had given me. I threw the ring that Joselyn didn't want into the trash. I didn't want a ring that someone else had used. I didn't want Silas anymore either. The room was empty with only some insignificant things left. After doing all this, I booked a flight ticket for the day of the wedding. But I never expected that the wedding I discarded like trash was something someone else would snatch up as a treasure. A few days before the wedding, I did a lot of things. I cut my hair short. I also went to visit Silas's grandfather. Silas's grandfather had always been very kind to me. When I was 14 years old, my parents died in a car accident. It was Silas's grandfather who brought me into the Silas family and raised me. Silas's grandfather was very happy to see me. When he noticed that Silas wasn't with me, his face turned a bit unpleasant. After the meal, Silas's grandfather asked about Silas's whereabouts. I paused while peeling the fruit, then looked up and smiled. "He's busy. I'm sorry he couldn't come to see you." In the end, he let out a sigh and didn't ask any more questions. "Girl, just do whatever you want. I won't stop you." I smiled and agreed. On the last day before Silas was about to return to the country, I went to my parents' graves. He once made a promise in front of the tombstone. "Uncle and Aunt, don't worry. I will treat Cynthia well for the rest of my life. In this life, I, Silas, will only love Cynthia." Revisiting this place was like trying to retrieve a sword by marking the boat. I didn't shed a single tear when I cut my wrist and let the blood flow, but at this moment, my eyes felt sore and swollen. Silas was no longer the young man who had sworn never to betray me. Just then, I got a call. Silas called me. I trembled as I answered the phone with my fingers, but my throat was terribly hoarse. "What's up?" On the other end of the phone, Silas's voice was low and husky, full of an ambiguous tone, obviously after he had been satisfied. "Cynthia, I'll be home tomorrow. I miss you so much. Cynthia, you stay home and wait for me. I also brought you a gift, postcards from Iceland. Don't you like Iceland the most? How about I bring you here for our honeymoon after the wedding?" Calculating the time, it should be early morning in Iceland. I suddenly had a real feeling about that sentence. Confessions of love in the early morning are all to cover up the guilt of cheating. Could a person like Silas actually feel guilty? Silas paused for a moment, his voice filled with anticipation. "Our wedding is in a few days. I'm finally going to marry you, Cynthia. Cynthia, I've dreamed of you marrying me. I've been looking forward to this day for 6 years. You're finally going to be my wife. On the wedding day, shall we go and sweep your parents' graves? I didn't say anything. Suddenly, a delicate and weak voice of a girl came from the other end of the phone. I want more, brother. In an instant, I knew what Silas and Joselyn were doing. Before hanging up the phone, Silas casually explained, I miss you. I'm watching a movie. Don't think too much about it. My heart was completely cold. Without hesitation, I changed my flight ticket to tomorrow. Finally having sway, I deleted and blocked all of Silas's contact information. On the day Silas returned to the country, I got up very early and carried my luggage to a hotel near the airport. Before leaving, I threw the wedding ring into the trash. I didn't want something that someone else had used either. Joselyn updated her WeChat moments again. This time she posted a video that was 3 minutes long. It recorded every bit of the time Silas spent with her. There were recordings of watching the aurora in Iceland and photos of them kissing under the Eiffel Tower. Silas accompanied her to many places and there were so many photos of them together, more than the total number of photos of us during our 6-year relationship. Their chat records flashed in the video. He called her Little Rose and Baby. Silas didn't like such mushy words. Even when he loved me the most, he would just call me Cynthia in a tender tone. Jocelyn's caption was quite long but I only saw the last few sentences. In love, there's no such thing as first come first served. The one who isn't loved is the third party. Although he can't marry me, it doesn't matter. As long as he loves me, that's enough. From now on, my boy will be someone else's husband. I smiled. I laughed at myself for having given my heart in vain and for not being able to see people clearly. The flight landed smoothly. Yvonne excitedly rushed up and gave me a big bear hug. Cynthia, I never expected you to actually come. I smiled and handed my luggage to Yvonne's young boyfriend, an American college student with blonde hair and blue eyes. Yvonne had actually been living so well abroad without telling me. She put her arm around me. Come on, I'll order 10 or 8 male models for you so you won't even remember what that scoundrel looks like. I smiled and agreed. Yvonne wasn't lying. The sunset in San Francisco was indeed very beautiful. The whole city was bathed in golden sunlight like a fairyland. The blue waves surged onto the beach creating blooming waves. This place was very suitable for recuperation. My life was peaceful for a long time until a friend in the circle brought me news about Silas. She said that after Silas found out I was gone, he was extremely angry. He smashed the villa to pieces. He carefully picked up the ring that I had thrown away from the debris on the floor. Joselyn tried to persuade him but he punched her to the ground. He seemed to have gone crazy and had Joselyn hauled out of the villa that day. Silas didn't sleep for several nights and sent people to search all over the city, but he never found a trace of me. Silas Eden went to my friend in the circle. She had never seen Silas in such a disconsolate state. She tried to persuade him. Maybe Cynthia is really determined to leave this time. But Silas didn't believe it. He didn't believe that I would really leave. Silas's eyes were red and he was paranoid and crazy. Cynthia won't leave me. She's just angry with me. When she calms down, she'll come back to me obediently. On the wedding day, she will definitely come back. Then, I'll coax her well and never let her leave again. Silas rambled on a lot as if he was talking to himself. Seeing his state, my friend didn't know how to persuade him further and could only come to me for help. But I didn't have any reaction. I just told her you don't need to tell me any news about Silas in the future. I have no relationship with him anymore. The wedding proceeded as scheduled. Silas waited at the entrance of the banquet hall all day. He firmly believed that I would definitely come back. He even sent me a message through someone. Cynthia, there should be a limit to your anger with me. Aren't you the most looking forward to this wedding? I've prepared the wedding dress according to your size and I bought a new ring too. I'm just waiting for you to come. But that day I never showed up since he couldn't wait for me. Silas went crazy and smashed the entire wedding venue. I also heard about the chaos of this wedding when the crown prince of the Silas family was getting married. All the media in City S were vying to report on it, but on the wedding day the bride was missing. Many videos were leaked from the scene. When Yvonne showed me the videos she was so angry that she started cursing. How can this scumbag and that be so shameless? In the video, the banquet hall was in a mess. The flowers that had been airlifted back from Italy at a cost of millions were reduced to scraps. The precious red wine was spilled all over the floor. Silas slumped to the ground, his head hung low. It was too far away to see his expression clearly. All I could see was his dirty suit and his tightly clenched fingers hanging by his side. Even the joints of his fingers were oozing blood, but he didn't seem to be aware of the pain at all. Silas took out the ring that I had thrown in the trash from his arms. He just kept looking at it with his head lowered. He seemed to have lost his soul. Joselyn, wearing an ill-fitting wedding dress, walked up and helped him up. Her eyes were bright and her love was obvious. Silas, if she won't marry you, I will. I can't bear to see you marry another woman. Now that she has abandoned you and left, it's clear that she has never loved you at all. Silas, why do you have to love a woman who doesn't love you? Can't you look back at me? A woman as vain as Cynthia will definitely regret it in the future. When she comes back and sees me by your side, I'm afraid she'll regret it to the core. At first, Silas ignored her. But suddenly, as if he thought of something, he twitched the corner of his mouth and looked up at Joselyn. He said, "Sure, I'll marry you." Joselyn had a wound on her face but was smiling happily. She stepped forward and kissed Silas affectionately. Silas put his arms around her waist and kissed her even more passionately. After the kiss ended, Silas looked at the camera with a terrifyingly gloomy expression. "Cynthia, don't regret it." The video ended abruptly here. My friends in the circle felt indignant on my behalf. You've known each other for 10 years. How could Silas treat you like this? How could he marry someone like Joselyn? I was unusually calm. I didn't tell her that after the wedding that day. Silas sent me a text message. "Cynthia, I can tolerate your little tantrums and small matters, but for a major event like a wedding, do you really have to make it so embarrassing? I've indulged you too much in the past, which made you overstep the mark relying on my love. I won't treat you like that anymore. You'd better not regret it." This farce made it to the domestic trending topics. Domestic media reported that they were a golden couple, while I was the gold digger who climbed up the social ladder and ran away from the wedding at the last minute. Netizens one after another felt indignant for Silas. Come on, why should such a rich and handsome guy be depressed because of a gold digger who ran away from the wedding? Gold diggers really deserve to die. When he sat on the ground looking dejected, I felt like he was about to break. Fortunately, there's the little angel Joselyn to warm his heart. When she walked towards him, I started shipping them again. Jocelyn's Weibo account was exposed, and her username was Joselyn, not Jing Jean. Only then did I notice that she was a small internet celebrity with hundreds of thousands of followers. She often recorded the daily life of her relationship with Silas on Weibo. Now, because of the popularity of the wedding, countless netizens flocked to her Weibo to leave comments. "Bobby mama, I'm here. The scheming young master BS. The bright little sun. What kind of perfect couple is this? It's like a novel coming to life. That gold digger had better never come back to the country and not disturb our little couple. She's so annoying." My days swept over these comments. I just found it extremely ridiculous. I stayed in San Francisco for 3 months. During these 3 months, I picked up painting again. At the age of 18, in order to go to the same university as Silas, I gave up the Academy of Fine Arts and applied for the most ordinary major. Since then, I never picked up a paintbrush again. Ivan and the art teacher who had always had high hopes for me were both disappointed in me when they found out. With such great painting talent, how could you just give it up? The art teacher was so angry that he didn't want to see me anymore. "Cynthia, I'm really disappointed in you. Don't say you're my student from now on." I didn't tell them. In fact, it wasn't just because of Silas. My parents had a car accident on their way to my art exhibition. From that day on, my dream of becoming a painter was shattered. I started to be afraid of painting. As soon as I picked up a paintbrush, I would think of the tragic scene of my parents' car accident. My parents were lying in a pool of blood. The blood on their faces was redder than the sunset that day. But after completely leaving Silas, I dared to pick up a paintbrush instead. My paintings became famous, and I'm going to hold an art exhibition in the country at the end of the month. The location is in City S. The day before the art exhibition, the sponsor invited me to a cocktail party. I didn't expect to run into Silas there. We hadn't seen each other for 3 months, and he didn't seem to have changed much. It was just that the female companion by his side had been replaced. Joselyn was holding his arm, smiling sweetly. Silas had a calm expression, and it was impossible to tell whether he was happy or sad. People passing by raised their glasses and congratulated them on their happy marriage. Joselyn's smile froze on her face when she saw me. Silas noticed her anomaly and followed her gaze. Our eyes met. I raised my glass and showed a polite smile. "President Silas, long time no see." Silas's eyes were deep, and there was a complex emotion on his face that I couldn't understand. After the cocktail party ended, I was blocked at the corner of the corridor. Silas was drunk and blocked my way. "Cynthia, you finally decided to come back to the country, haven't you? It's been 3 months. Have you had enough of making trouble?" Silas seemed to be really drunk. He grabbed my wrist forcefully and pressed me against the wall, but his eyes inadvertently turned red. "Cynthia, why didn't you wait for me to come back? I had already chosen a wedding dress for you according to your measurements. It's the work of your favorite designer. I wanted to give you a surprise a few days before the wedding, but why didn't you wait for me? Silas's tone was clearly one of accusation, but there was also a hint of grievance. I suddenly understood how Joselyn's ill-fitting wedding dress came about. Cynthia, there should be a limit to your temper tantrums. Do you know that I was waiting for you to come back until the day of the wedding? He pressed me against the wall and leaned in. There was a dark cloud brewing in those clear black eyes at the moment. Why did you leave? Why did you go away? Silas's successive questions made me feel confused. I broke free from his restraint and looked at him coldly. President Silas, there's no relationship between us anymore. Moreover, you're already married. Please behave yourself. Silas's face turned extremely dark after these words. Married? As if thinking of something, he stroked the ring on his ring finger and let out a cold laugh. That's right. So Cynthia, it's too late for you to regret now. No one in the whole city would dare to want a woman that I Silas don't want. Just as Silas finished saying this, my phone rang. After answering it, I heard a young man's anxious voice on the other end. Sister, where have you been? Are you not feeling well? Do you want me to come in and find you? While apologizing, I walked out, but Silas's expression changed at this moment. He grabbed my wrist and demanded, "Who is he?" I ignored him and just wanted to leave in a hurry, but he still held my wrist tightly, even increasing the strength. Answer me, Cynthia. I tried to push him away. Let go, you're hurting me. But Silas seemed to be deaf to everything. His expression was paranoid and gloomy. Cynthia, do you have a new boyfriend? Answer me. I used all my strength to shake off his hand. Yes, I have a new boyfriend. It's none of your business, is it, President Silas? Silas's face lost all its color the moment I finished speaking. He stared at me intently, as if trying to find any trace of a lie on my face, but there was none. I looked at him calmly, as if looking at a stranger. Silas suddenly sneered. Cynthia, is it fun to make me angry like this? Make him angry. I also smiled. President Silas is joking. My boyfriend is here to pick me up. Your wife must be waiting anxiously too. Harlon just found me at this moment. He came all the way to my side and took my hand. The stray hairs on his forehead stuck to his forehead due to the intense running. Sister, why didn't you answer the phone just now? I was so worried about you. I held his hand and soothed him softly, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw Silas's suddenly stiff expression. Harlon was someone I met after I landed in San Francisco. Unlike Silas, the love of a young man is passionate and bright. I told him that I had no intention of being in a relationship for the time being, but Harlon didn't give up. He just silently chased after me. I thought Harlon was just being enthusiastic for a short while, but I didn't expect him to chase after me for 3 months. This sincerity touched me. The day I accepted Harlon's confession, he was so excited that he picked me up and spun me around 3 times on the spot. When Harlon sent me home, he didn't ask anything. He just lowered his eyes, looking pitiful. Sister, did you miss me today? I ruffled his hair, smelling the freshman scent on him. I felt extremely at ease. I missed you so much. Harlon smiled, showing his white teeth like a Samoyed. He kissed my face again and again, but he wasn't satisfied at all. Finally, a gentle kiss landed on my lips. Harlon's breath was hot. I miss sister so much too. When we got home, there were cigarette butts all over the ground at the door. No one expected that Silas would follow us to the door of my house. Silas, who used to hate the smell of cigarettes the most, was now standing at my door, lighting a cigarette and looking at me with an obscure gaze. Cynthia, can we talk? Harlon stood by my side. When he saw Silas, he tightened his grip on my hand. He showed a smile to Silas. It's so late. Don't you need to go home, President Silas? Your wife will be worried, right? Harlon's attitude was gentle, and it could even be called friendly, but Silas's face became even uglier. He looked at me and called my name again. Cynthia, we haven't seen each other for so long. Don't you want to catch up? Before I could speak, Harlon directly refused for me. President Silas, you're already a married man. It's not appropriate for you to catch up with Cynthia alone, is it? If you need someone to talk to, I can also have a chat with you, President Silas. Silas stared at him. After a while, he suddenly laughed. Sure. What a load of nonsense. Silas has always been like a mad dog. I was afraid that he would do something to Harlon, so I quickly stepped forward to interrupt. It's too late. Harlon and I are going home to rest. Please go back, President Silas. But Silas blocked the door and refused to move. He called me again. Cynthia. I got pimples instantly. Harlon was extremely jealous. I quickly stepped past Silas and pulled him into the house. When the door closed, Silas was still standing there. He didn't even notice that the cigarette in his hand had burned out. Harlon is really cute when he's jealous. He hugged me like a large koala. His voice was muffled. Sister, why were you talking to him? I stroked his fluffy head and coaxed. I was wrong. I won't do it again next time. That night, Harlon was particularly enthusiastic. Finally, he fulfilled my fingers weak, slid off his bare shoulder. Harlon hugged me. His tone was both aggrieved and domineering. Sister, you're not allowed to leave me. You're also not allowed to look at other men. You can only look at me. I nodded obediently. I'll only look at you. An accident occurred on the day of the art exhibition. I was blocked by a group of people at the entrance. Some people threw stinky eggs and rotten vegetable leaves at me. They cursed at me, calling me a shameless gold digger. Some even tried to rush towards me. Harlon, stop them. He carefully shielded me behind him and roared at the crowd. Stop. Otherwise, I'll call the police. I looked at the angry crowd in confusion and finally found the answer on my phone. An unknown small account revealed my real information and it pointed out that I was the bride who fled the wedding of the Silas family. Some media followed suit and reported that I was a mistress of a wealthy businessman and was severely beaten by the legal wife. I had no choice but to return to the country this time. I latched onto a domestic tycoon and held an art exhibition. It was even recorded that I had the nerve to ask Silas to get back together with me just yesterday. The report was accompanied by pictures and texts, looking highly authentic. Joselyn also posted a Weibo with an ambiguous meaning at this time. Those who betray others' sincere feelings have no right to turn back. In an instant, the anger of netizens was ignited. The CP fans of Silas and Joselyn were especially furious. The public opinion continued to ferment. That damned gold digger. How dare she have the nerve to ask for a reunion? Does she only live 363 days a year? How can there be such a disgusting person? No wonder her parents died. She must have been the cause of their deaths. Joselyn is still too kind. If it were me, I would definitely go and smash her art exhibition. They found the location of my art exhibition and organized this farce after understanding everything. I sneered. Joselyn really couldn't stand to see me doing well at all. Just then, what on a wall Silas rushed over in a hurry. He dispersed the troublesome crowd with his bodyguards finally. He came up to me. His eyebrows were furrowed deeply and he pursed his lips tightly. He looked guilty and his voice even became horsero. I'm sorry. I'm late. I gave him a cold look. Silas, have you had enough of this affection attack? It makes me sick just looking at it. He froze there. Even if he was a bit slow-witted, he could feel my coldness. Holland and I reported the incident to the police together. Before going to the police station, Silas grabbed me. He took a deep breath and said with a pale face, Cynthia, I will give you an explanation. I shook him off and pulled Holland into the car heading to the police station. Silas stood there quietly. He didn't move a muscle until the police car drove away. The investigation results came out quickly. The account that revealed my real information was Joselyn's small account. It was also she who bribed the media to spread rumors and guided her fans to carry out online violence against me. When Joselyn came to the police station, she cried so hard that her makeup was all smeared. She knew what she would face. I didn't want to reconcile with her. It was only at this time that I learned that Silas and Joselyn hadn't actually gotten married. Joselyn had only briefly been his bride on the wedding day. She was even wearing an ill-fitting wedding dress. Joselyn ended up in a very miserable situation. The media exposed her real information. Even an acquaintance revealed some private photos of her being a mistress of a wealthy businessman in the past. She who was originally a small internet celebrity was terminated by the company and had to bear a huge amount of liquidated damages. Those fans who used to like her didn't know what kind of person she was in private. After learning the truth, they all unfollowed her and turned against her. Damn it, the truth is actually like this. What else is real on the internet? Joselyn even used someone else's wedding for hype. She really stops at nothing. I used to consume so much of that artificial sweetness. Now that I think about it, it makes me sick. It's really a match made in hell between a scumbag and a Joselyn was severely cyberbullied. But even so, Silas didn't let her off. Silas had told her that no matter what she couldn't cause trouble in front of me, but she just didn't listen. Joselyn thought she was Silas's true love, but she didn't know that Silas had only been playing with her all along. After learning the truth about my leaving, the first person Silas wanted to take revenge on was her. The next time I heard news about Joselyn was on Ebo. Some netizens said they saw the disoriented Joselyn in a mental hospital and even took a video. In the video, Joselyn was dressed in rags and looked crazy. She laughed loudly at the camera. "Silas loves me the most. I will be the only lady of the Silas family in the future. All of you can go to hell." After Avon learned about it, she repeatedly lamented the ruthlessness of men. A man like Silas, when he loves you he wants to hold you in the palm of his hand, but when he doesn't love you he's really heartless and wishes you were dead. She sighed again, saying that it was fortunate that I had left Silas. I smiled but didn't say anything. Due to this scandal, the stock of the Silas family dropped significantly, resulting in a loss of several $100 million. Silas's grandfather was so angry that he used the family discipline on Silas. Silas endured the pain and knelt in the ancestral hall for a whole night. Later, another Silas appeared in the Silas family. It was said to be the illegitimate son of Silas's father. Silas was no longer the beloved crown prince of the Silas family. When the news of his car accident reached my ears, I had just returned to the country. I heard that Silas was speeding, crashed through the guardrail and his car sank into the water. When he was rescued, he was barely alive and was still being rescued in the hospital. In fact, he had called me before going for the drag race. On the phone, Silas asked in a hoarse voice, "Cynthia, if I experience all the hurt you suffered back then again, will you come back to me?" I cursed on the other end of the phone, "Absolutely not. Silas, you're really crazy." But Silas laughed, "I've been crazy since the day you left me." I held another art exhibition. There were a lot of people who came and some even wanted to buy one of my paintings at a high price. That painting was done on the first day I arrived in San Francisco. A little girl in a white dress was quietly floating in the sea, just like the Little Mermaid. The sea surface was dotted with stars. Behind her was a twisted black vortex, but she didn't look back. She rowed a small boat and headed towards the direction where the sun rises. I named this painting Rebirth. The original intention of painting this was to congratulate myself on my new beginning. I introduced the concept and meaning of this painting to the customer who wanted to buy it. After the art exhibition ended, I realized that it had rained heavily outside. Silas was wearing a black suit and didn't have an umbrella. He almost blended into the rain curtain. He looked haggard. Silas had a serious cleanliness obsession, but this time he didn't even have time to shave off the stubble on his lips. I hadn't seen him for a few days and Silas had lost a lot of weight. When he saw me, a glimmer of hope ignited again in his eyes, which were as dull as stagnant water. "Cynthia," he stood there hesitantly and called me by the most intimate name you used to. But I felt extremely disgusted. I looked up at him. My gaze unusually calm. Silas seemed to be burned by my gaze and his eyes turned red. "Cynthia, come back with me." His tone was tender, just like when he used to whisper sweet nothings in my ear in the past, but he couldn't hide the horrorousness in his voice. The once wedding ring was held carefully in his palm and he made sure it didn't get a single drop of rain on it. "Go back." I suddenly found Silas's current action ridiculous. Do men only know how to salvage and cherish after they have completely lost something? Silas wouldn't understand that a woman whose heart is completely broken will never turn back. "Silas, if you came here to persuade me to stay, then please go back." Silas's body stiffened. He stared at me intently. "Cynthia, I was wrong. We've been together for 6 years. I just wanted to find some freshness with Joselyn. I don't love her at all. The only one I love in my heart is always you. On the wedding day, I just used her to make you angry. You know in our circle men don't just have one woman, but life goes on. Moreover, I would have broken up with her completely after getting married. Cynthia, why can't you just be a bit more patient? All the property of the Silas family will be yours and no one can shake your position in my heart." Suddenly, I felt a wave of nausea in my stomach. Even Silas's words of persuasion were so disgusting. Seeing that I didn't respond for a long time, he reached out his hand wanting to put that ring on my finger, but I threw the ring into the sewer. "Silas, I'd rather throw away something that someone else has used than see it again. Someone like you will never understand true love. You only love yourself and you make me feel extremely disgusted." After I finished speaking, the corners of Silas's eyes turned red. We had been together for 10 years and knew each other well enough. He suddenly realized that I was really determined and that I would never turn back. His shoulders were trembling as if he was crying. The rain was getting heavier and I couldn't tell whether it was rain or tears streaming down from the corners of his eyes. I stood there and calmly watched him panic and pounce on the ground trying to fish the ring out of the sewer. Unfortunately, the water flow was too strong and the rain had already been washed away. His suit was soiled by the mud, but Silas didn't care. He looked up desperately in the heavy rain. I turned around and got into Harlon's car. The car gradually drove away from there. Silas, however, stayed in the rain sobbing uncontrollably. I used to wonder why most men say they love you but they still can't control their impulses. But now I seem to understand. They don't love anyone at all. They only love themselves. Someone like Silas will never truly love anyone and he will never deserve true happiness either.